Hello and welcome. I'm Olga Jevtich, Miss Virginia Senior America 2003, and this is Fashion Notes. You know, between spring and summer, fall and winter collections, there's special cruise collection. Karl Lagerfeld presented a beautiful collection in Miami, Florida. The clothes are heavy on black and white, my personal favorite, but the collection paired more both masculine and feminine. For example, black pantsuit with white jacket mixed with stock of pink, blue, and gray. There were also ankle straps, open-toe platform shoes with a heel shaped like a gun. I don't know who's going to buy that. Bell bottoms were paired with isometric style tops. Everything in the collection was absolute wearable and beautifully finished. Gian Galliano for Dior has presented in New York, inspired by gypsy pants, off-shoulder ruffle tops, loose baby doll dresses, cropped belted kaftans, empire waist gown, and plenty of colored tear dresses in different colors, like fuchsia, lime, and tangerine. They are beautiful if you are lounging in Saint-Tropez, Miami Beach, or Rehoboth Beach. What about color and fabric for the fall and winter? Lots of organic and friendly fabrics. Fabric origins are from farm, garden, mine, and science labs. Along with cotton, linen, and wool, there are natural fabrics, but it came from bamboo, corn, coconut, crab shells, eucalyptus, metals, milk, seaweeds, and soybeans. Use it alone or in blends with synthetics. They all provide comfort and perfection. They were showing satins in jerseys, always good sellers, and good old-fashioned denim is very strong. Color, darks and neutrals, especially warm reds and grays, almost black, plum, dark Bordeaux, dark gray, black, navy, brown, red, dark olive, and taupe. Prints, linear abstract, geometric, and some winter flowers, black and white, animal prints, paisley. They always come back for any season, and you can call them perennials. There are some hints for the coming season. Of course, there are some hints, and of course, next time, tune in for more tips on fashion news. Now is the time to go shopping. Happy shopping! How do you like my hat? I think it's fabulous. My daughter got it for me. When she saw in the store, she said, "Oh, this is my mom." Now I have to go to Kentucky Derby, perhaps to show off, or maybe to polo locally so I can show off my beautiful hat. Thank you, my daughter. Anyway, today is an absolutely interesting day because we have in the studio a very interesting lady. Her name is Rosemary Reed Miller. She's very well known in Washington. She was a store owner on Connecticut Avenue. I'm sure most of you remember Toast and Strawberry. And for 30 years. But I did impressed with her store even years then that I did not know her, but I knew her store. She featured local talent, what I'm doing right now, trying to feature local talent, because as you know, we have so many talented people in Washington area. And she's here today to talk. We are going to talk about her book that she wrote. Well, let me introduce her first. Miss Rosemary Reed Miller is in the studio with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And she is here to talk about her beautiful, as you can see, her book. This is her book, and she probably made so much research, threads of times, the fabric and history. She made research about 38 African American designers and craftspeople, and put them in this book. We have some slides, and she's going to tell us more about it. It's a very fascinating book that most people did not know about, but it's just coming now, and this is her book that is already in 3rd edition. So you can see how, popular the book is, and she is going to tell us about her book. How did you decide to write the book? First of all, I was always curious, how did you find the name you stored, Toast and Strawberry? How did you came with the name? I was always interested because I was in your store many times, and I was like, how did she think about Toast and Strawberry? What connection?
A lot of people ask me that question. I used to write for newspapers in Jamaica, West Indies, and I had a party for somebody, and we had strawberries and lots of strawberries left over, and so we had toast and strawberries for the next couple days, and so we had a design line of jewelry, and I thought that was a wonderful name to have, Toast and Strawberries.
It is catching, very catching.
A lot of people have enjoyed it. So
and I was wondering, did you were born in the strawberry patch?
And the book comes because I found that people would ask, we do at Toast and Strawberries, and we still do fashion shows now. Our telephone number, we closed a couple years ago, but our telephone number still works, and we still do alterations and fashion shows and things like that. And people ask us, so when we did fashion shows, people asked, could I do something about history? My background really is history and art. And they said, do you know anything about Afro-American designers? And I said, no. I actually thought I should. My mother taught art, I taught art, but I didn't know. So I went to the library, went to Howard University's library, I went to Washington, D.C.'s Washingtoniana library and asked for some help. And the first one they told me about was Anne Lowe. There's a picture of her here. Anne Lowe died in 1981, and she designed Jackie Kennedy's wedding dress. If you look right on the back, this is Jackie and Jack Kennedy.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful.
And on the back of the book, I have Elizabeth Keckley, and Elizabeth Keckley designed for Mrs. Lincoln. And I love your gloves. One time, Mrs. Lincoln went out and bought 300 gloves at one shopping joint. So she was really a shopper.
This is a nice piece of history.
Yes. Mrs. Lincoln really could shop to drop.
He was the shopper, and she wasn't not?
Well, yeah, she shopped till she dropped. She really did.
Oh, she did?
So it was just an interesting person. Yeah. But anyway, so I found these various designers, and so I would talk about them when we did our fashion show. And then I realized there was nothing in writing about it, so I wrote a book. I had 11 I started off with, and the first edition, this is a 3rd edition. I had 11, then the next edition, the second had 22.
Did you add something every time for each edition?
Then I had
update something?
11 designers first, then 22, and then now I have
so you're
38.
Like a 30 designers all together.
38 now.
That's amazing. And that was something that was unknown, actually, and that she did, it was a history, actually, of the...
Do we have any slides that we can start on?
Yeah, we have some slides that we are going to show you.
Some of the
about they were in her book, and the slides probably will make more, justice to the. So this is explain these slides. This is the
cover we just
cover
showed.
of your book.
So we could
that
go
we
to the next
show.
One. Can we go to the next one?
It's a very interesting.
This is Eliza Gardner, who did very well in Boston. She donated $400 to $600. She was a dressmaker there and donated $400 to $600 to her church per year. That doesn't sound like a lot, but even today, that's not bad. In today's money, that would be about $2,000, $3,000 a year. The other women also did other, extraordinary kind of things like that too. I don't know if they're going to be able to show any more of them, but we can come back to that. One of the women we had is named Valdez, who did designs for movie stars in New York City, and she also
she had a boutique in Harlem.
No, she did designs. She was a designer, and she designed for movie stars. I have a picture of her with Dorothy Dandridge, but she also she did fashion shows at the Playboy Bunny Club, and she actually worked on the first Playboy Bunny costume, and so she was kind of interesting. I talked to the Hefner people about that. That costume was donated to the Smithsonian
too. Is she still alive?
No, she died about 10 years ago. No. Anne Lowe on the cover here died in 1980. I was really interested in women who were like pre-1970. Most people can know people today or something, designers.
Yes, they're well known, of course, but before that, probably forgotten.
I mean, I end up with Tracy Reese in this book, and Tracy Reese is a current designer who's doing about 20-some million a year. She's fine, and that's current, but the other ones.
Tell me about Mrs. Kennedy dress that was done, but actually, what did Mr. Cassini added a little something and said that was his design, but actually it wasn't?
No, he did the inauguration dress. This is 1953. The inauguration was 1963, and he did do that dress.
For inauguration.
Yes, that's 10 years later.
Then,
this dress is in the Kennedy Library.
Oh, they said this is the most beautiful wedding dress ever that was made.
We thought so, yeah.
Oh,
and her
and
name
it was copied probably millions of times, you know.
Yes, because Vera
It's
Wang
a very
has some dresses that are very similar to it now. I see Vera Wang doing some designs with a lot of fluff on the bottom, and it's she started out doing very plain, and now she had a dress last year that looked just like this dress, Anne Lowe's dress for Kennedy. It was sort of amazing.
I see. Well, that's just really, as you can
Time
see.
goes that cycle.
Oh, it does. Oh, everything, you know, is modern today. You know, it was probably modern, you know, years and years ago, and just goes around, absolutely goes around.
But you were mentioning about the doll because the Franklin Mint that sells miniature dolls has various dolls of Jackie Kennedy, including the inauguration. And they had a page you could buy the dolls about $100, $200. And there was a little button about 3 years ago. You could push the button, and the designer came up as Olga Cassini. And then it had the wedding dress doll, wedding dress doll. And you push the button, and it came up as Olga Cassini. And so we wrote to them, and we said, oh, this is terrible.
So did they correct it?
They just knocked out the button. The way they handled it, the woman said to me she had to do research. She had to go to the Kennedy Library. The dress is under a glass, you know, bubbles, and the Kennedy Library right in front. And it says Anne Lowe, an Afro-American designer. And she said she had to do research. So now when you go into the book to buy the doll, they still sell the doll, and it just has nothing on it. That's the way they handled it.
You profile also a woman from America, but also from some other islands or some other country.
I have women in Jamaica. I have a woman from Ghana. I'm interested in general, I guess you'd say women of color, but I was, again, looking for women in the past because, again, women, whatever the area is, women tend to get lost in history. And in terms of Afro-American women, they really get lost in history. So my whole point was to do research and tell people and come on your show.
This is wonderful that you did.
Appreciate coming on your show to
It
do
will
that.
be very appreciated for the generation today to see what, you know, all time was done. And it wasn't really recognized till, you know, your book.
Yes, and it's a research book. It's sold to libraries and museums, but any bookstore has it. The Metropolitan Museum. 5 of the Anne Lowe's dresses are in the Metropolitan Museum's costume collection. They have it in their gift store in New York. So it's sold different places, but I was going to tell you where else.
I see. Well, which one was most interesting, you know, to research? I'm sure they have all,
They're all
interesting,
very amazing,
things,
and also they also lived a long time. Most of them died in their 80s or 90s. It's just amazing. So they had long, maybe ups and downs, but long careers. It was just interesting. They very much reflected their history. The one woman I thought of is Annie Malone. Annie Malone started out in terms of designing and dressmaking, but then she went into hair products. She actually did little tins of her name on it and sold different places, and she had different women sell for her. And one of the women she had sell for her was, that's first name was Breedlove. She changed it later to Madame C.J. Walker. Have you ever heard of her?
And some of the designers used to have a boutique, like one in Harlem had a boutique. And
I have the current one. I have a Harlem, the Brownstone Boutique in New York. Is that what you're
still
thinking?
is?
Yes, they're still open.
Open.
And then I had
So do they carry only like
just
contemporary young designers?
Off the market and some of their own designs. That's what's making
Because what I did admire Rosemary in the old time is she had her store for 30 plus years on Connecticut Avenue. That she was the only one person that I know that she carried local designers. This is what I'm doing now to, feature
It's really wonderful.
local people. And I always say, we absolutely neglect our own backyard.
And we felt that was very important. A lot of our designers did leave and went to New York or went to London. I felt you should be able to recognize talent no matter where it is.
Absolutely.
And Nina Hyde, who I mentioned in my book also. And Nina Hyde was the only person when the wedding, Jackie Kennedy's wedding in 1953, every newspaper in every little small town or whatever covered the wedding.
Covered, of course.
And none of them mentioned the race of the designer. Jackie Kennedy just said a colored dressmaker did it. She used to do designs for her mother, but she was on Madison Avenue. What's his name? Klein has her space now. But Nina Hyde here in the Washington Post was the only person who said a Negro designer, Ann Lowe, did the dress. And it's a very sweet thing to do anything for a president. People wave and write down in their diaries that the president drove by. So you can imagine if you did some actual work for a president. So to do the wedding dress was very special.
That was every time this is a trend that they do, for the people, they copy all these designs, with all these, inaugurations or even, now when you go, see a red carpet, people, the next day you can, have a copies of every dress at a fraction of the price, what it cost them. So even at that time was probably inspiration to, people that they can, copy the dress and make it and, feel that they are very important.
That is the point, but I also mainly wanted it to be just literally recognized in history and that people would have a sense, because even professors at FIT in New York did not know who did Jackie's wedding dress, and all kinds of people. One of her dresses is in the FIT museum, but the actual wedding dress is in, and Vogue had an article years ago, and they didn't know who did the wedding dress. So it was just very important.
So did you write them?
No, the point of the article was that they now knew who had
they
did.
did.
So,
Okay,
but I'm saying they didn't
that was
know.
corrected. That's wonderful.
So it was really important. Very small little things like that. But to think about the Franklin Mint selling the doll and not having it, correctly identified, I thought was really sad. And in terms of her memory, I thought it was just really sad. So I was trying very much to rectify her memory and other women's too. And so coming on your program was appreciate that.
I'm glad you could come so we can, straighten some things up. They were forgotten. And she wrote about, the history. So that's the most interesting that these women were probably never mentioned before.
Well, they were, but basically
not that they're very well known
and
to the general public.
Nowadays, I think there's more documentation and it's clearer, but that's why I was looking. It's just more difficult to research women before 1970. It's just really difficult. But I found enough pictures. I found enough women. I'm still open to find women from the Midwest and the South, because there's always, I can keep adding to this, really, the book. I can keep adding.
So since you were in the fashion business for so many years, what do you think about fashion now and let's say like 20 years ago? Do you see any difference? Do people?
I see a big circle of things coming back.
They're coming back?
Yeah, I see a lot of the kind of choli designs that come here under, sort of Indian, and some of the skirts that are fluted. A lot of the prints I see coming back. It's intriguing to me to see things kind of do
coming
a cycle,
back.
I
knew something that was old. Oh yes, of course. But having your store, you miss your store?
Well, our telephone number still works. People still call us, and again, we do alterations and bridals still at Toast and Strawberries, and we still do fashion shows, and I do a lot of book talks.
Do
I
you
enjoy
do like
the
a fashion
people.
show, like for charity, or?
People, all kinds of people ask, But really, I enjoy the variety of people. We were at DuPont Circle, and that meant incredible number of people from around the world. And there were 5 hotels.
Absolutely.
We were right at the subway station and whatever. We were at Connecticut and Kew. So it was a wonderful, every day was a
different experience.
Yes. And I was like traveling differently. Somebody would tell us what was going on in China, someone would tell us what's going on in Iran. It was wonderful. So I missed the people, but being there every day, and we were open 7 days a week. Now, I was not there every day.
Yes,
but,
of course.
But still, you're on top of staff.
Because you have to, know what's going on every day, what's going on. But that's good that you put your creative energy in the book, and you wrote something that will be good for the generation to come, and that people will know what has been done, through fashion, with the African American ladies, and to be more known, and which is.
And I do talks all over the country. I really certainly enjoy that. And I knew there was another world out there. We did 30 years at Toast and Strawberries. And I said, oh, there's got to be another world out there.
Yeah, right.
And so we found it.
So what is going to be your next project? I usually ask people, and do something they probably have in mind to do something else.
I just constantly am doing talks, basically at museums and colleges and whatever, and fall is coming. We get a very big push for Black History Month, and then Women in March is Women in History Month, so I get a lot of things for Women in History Month too. So that's a constant thing.
But there's now there's some like a few schools, they have a fashion design, which we didn't have before. And I'm sure whoever is in school there would like to know what has been happening like years ago, the history of.
I'm always trying to find different schools to talk to and talk to the students.
Like Marymount and also now I think they have also in high schools they have a program, merchandising.
I did a talk at Garfield or Gar something in Virginia here. There's a couple schools here that do fashion. So I'm always, working for, and George Mason University has a book festival coming up, all those kind of things. But that's constant. That I'm always open for that. And anybody can reach me at Rosemary Reed Miller or RosemaryReed4 at hotmail.com. And we have a website, toastandstrawberries.com.
Toastandstrawberries.com. So you would like to, get in touch with her. She is. They have the same phone number. And also they have organizing fashion show for charity. That's what she's still working. And of course, her book, you have to remember, it's a beautiful green with a black lady with a big hat, my favorite. And this is her third, actually, edition of the book.
And I have about 3 or 4 women from Virginia. Elizabeth Keckley is from Virginia.
From Virginia,
another woman who went to New York is from Virginia. I had a woman in Hampton, Virginia. It's been I have about 4. Virginia is, I guess, a fertile place for talent because
I think we have talent all around us. But, this is, what I would like, always stress that we have so many talented people here in Washington. This is interesting. This is a Mrs. Kennedy and Mr. President Kennedy. In the background, I'm sure you cannot, I don't know if camera can pick it up, and the designer in front, very elegant lady in black hat and black dress, beautifully dressed. This is the way how I would like to be dressed too.
Yeah, but I did want to show you Keckley. I don't know if she'll show up. Her dress there, she designed for Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee's wife. This dress here sold for about $100-some in 1850.
Can you imagine how much money was that time?
That'd be about, that's about almost 3,000 something today.
Oh, I'm sure.
She was a top dressmaker in Washington, D.C. She wrote a book about her work, 30 years as a slave and 4 years in the White House. And we use that book a lot too when we want to do informal information about the Lincoln family. And that's what I said about the gloves. She talks about the gloves that she bought 300 at one time.
Wow. And, probably in every color.
300, she had a good choice. But she ran up a lot of bills, and poor President Lincoln was always being harassed by vendors trying to collect from him for his wife because she was always buying. And even afterwards, she had a lot of debts and whatever. So she actually lived outside the country. But I wanted to point out the dress. It's super elegant, and this is all silk. And
I'm sure, and workmanship and details, that comes, with it.
But if you think about Robert E. Lee as being your major family here in Virginia, and of course Jefferson Davis was the president of the Union, to have that kind of clientele was very special.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why Mrs. Lincoln wanted her as her dressmaker, because she knew the kind of the level of ladies that she had been sewing for.
Interesting. Such an interesting book, and I hope you get hold of it. And it's Threads of Time. How did you think about that? You know, it's a nice...
A friend of mine gave me a woman named Sheila Gregory. She's a writer and was very helpful. Everybody, I really asked everybody for help. You need help when you're writing. You need help for suggestions of people to write about,
people tell
for
you different,
editing help and whatever. But she suggested the title, and it fit very nicely.
It does.
You know,
you know.
we all know about the major people in a place, the generals and the presidents, but people create the fabric of history.
That's
That's
true.
what we wanted to remind you, that there were lots of other people who created the fabric of history.
History, absolutely. You can get in touch with her if you are interested, and of course you can, you know, book is in a bookstore. It's called Threads of Time, the fabric of history. So this is a very, very interesting book with lots of pictures of the designers and also on their client. Very important pictures.
It's a lot about American history.
About American history and fashion. Well, thank you. Would like to thank you, Rosemary, very, very much for coming today, and I hope you enjoy her, you know, talk about her book. And this is Olga Jevtich reporting for Fashion Notes. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you tune in next time with another exciting designer, craftsman from our area, and hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. It was